If you want bananas and chicken eggs, you have to become a Franciscan. These words of wisdom were spoken by Thinh's grandmother to him and family many years ago in a country very far removed from here, a country called Vietnam. These words were born out of the context of tremendous suffering, of tremendous pain, of loss of life, of loss of dignity. It was out of this context of this suffering, this tremendous suffering, that God's people in Vietnam, who have long known Christianity, dating way back, put out of those words of bananas and chicken. We also have to remember, perhaps, for most of us present here, we don't know much about Thinh's family. We don't realize that perhaps that first meeting is tied very much to his father's work in Vietnam some time back. Not only is Thinh's family connected to the earth through farming, but his father was also an oxen trader. Perhaps he had at least 12, like a nation. And so we know that there was a connection to Thinh's life and his family. And a connection that Thinh and his family were able to make with the Franciscans, who themselves worked the earth with the people. They picked up the hoes and they worked until the land with the people. They stayed and stood with their people. Perhaps just to let that image linger for just a moment. Within the context of so much violence and layers of pain and layers of many forms of crucifixion, life kept popping up. In fact, so much so that there were not only one or two children, but his mother and father brought to this earth the gracious gift of 8 sons. John tells us, I solemnly assure you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth and dies, it remains just a grain. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. We should have started that text with where it started. Greeks come hungry for a new world. Hungry, much like the people of Vietnam at one point and perhaps at various moments in their history. Hungering for life and for freedom. Hungering for meaning. Hungering for communities where people were respected, where dignity was lifted up. Much like the Greeks who come with the simple question, we want to see Jesus. We want to see what could be this promise of a new world, because we've heard something about it. So the disciples do what oftentimes many others of us do. They have to consult with each other. Are we going to let these characters meet with the boss? Are we going to let them meet with the person who has made our lives? Are we going to become a bridge, enabling people to be able to experience more deeply in their lives God, hope, that pledge, the promise of God, stretching back to the beginning of time, that we would live in a kingdom of dignity and love? The response of Jesus to that question is not some starry-eyed, wooing spirituality. Oh, let them come and let them die. These are threatening words. These are words that you are saying you want to accept as you embrace the gospel of life, as your brothers here have done. And in fact, as all of us, as Christians, are called to do, to embrace this gospel of life. We are called to allow that seed to penetrate us, to allow that relationship with God to lead us to a new vista, where we see ourselves differently, where we can conceive of each other not in the way that we experience one another sometimes, but it's the way that God has fashioned us, the way that God has created us, what God has called us to. This is what the Greeks wanted to see in Jesus. This is what the community of John had hoped and believed they called sight of. And isn't it what we long for too? Isn't this what we long for when we go around searching about for peace and for hope and for freedom and for joy? And team, you not only ran from the Franciscans, you ran with the Franciscans in Vietnam, and then you ran with your family because they were a family on the move because of so much perturbation in their society. You came to the United States. And team, continue to ask the question, I believe I want to see Jesus. Show me Jesus. Challenge the team brings to us, brothers. The team has come, and he's asked us to show him Jesus. What are we going to do? Oh my God. Have I got Jesus? Where is this? Sometimes in our lives, the way we treat each other, it's like, oh my God. Is that really Jesus speaking in me? Is that really Jesus living in me? And yet, if we look across not only a team, but the people of God, that's what they long to see in us as friars. Isn't it true? I think you long to see in us as friars, I am lying about him, but you long to see in us a people of peace and hope and joy. Is it true? You can say yes, it's okay. You think of friars because you hope that they will have a space where you feel your humanity and dignity. Isn't that what we hope? And when we look out and see that invitation to us, do we look back and allow that to reflect back into ourselves so that we can recover, we can be brought back to our own dignity? And out of that hope that we hope, then we can reach out again. Team, this is what you are demanding of us. This is what we are praying from you. And this is what the people of God are waiting for us as well. Oh, and by the way, we are waiting for it from you as well. We are in this together. This is John's vision of the world. The desire to see Jesus in John's Gospel is not some fluffy theology. It really is the first step, in my mind, John's proposal for us to recover our humanity. For us to recover the promise of that word shalom, that word where all those areas of violence and that disaffection takes place within our hearts and our lives because we invite violence from outside and it transforms us. And now when Jesus comes and says he comes to break that yoke that's upon us. He pledges that he will do this. And by the way, this, I believe, and I think we know this to be true, this is what Francis means when he talks about embracing the life of penance. Let us not fool ourselves. When we say we embrace the life of penance, we are not turning away from humanity into the world that will embrace our place in life. We are turning forward to humanity, and we embrace the God who loves us. Team, is this what you want to do? Are you sure? Still got to finish that. And my brothers, is this what you want to continue to do? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. But you got no time left. There are some words that come to me from Ilya David, from her book called Humility of God. And she says this: Jesus was free to heal lepers and sinners, to let women touch and kiss him. He was free to speak the truth against injustice, to turn over tables, church, temple, to speak about God's reign.